Hi everyone, my name is Adam Clay. I'm a football or soccer coach in Australia, and I want to talk about beginner football coaching. Um, that's a common question I've been asked. Where do I start? What do I do? Where do I begin? And there's 4 key areas that I want to talk about that should hopefully help you and get you started in coaching. Okay, so the 4 topics I want to talk about is where do you start? What age group do you have? What are the abilities of your players? And what league you're in? And what's your knowledge of the game? So the first thing is you've probably been thrusted into the role, probably coaching in a very junior team. You might be coaching up to a senior team in a local league because you've played there before in the club and somebody needs to coach that side. In my football journey as well, that's how I started. I started by coaching senior women and just drove from there really. So the big thing is where do you start? I just want to start off with a little quote that I was told, and it's seek to understand before being understood. So that means you need to go and learn, get educated before you can start trying to educate other people. That was vital to what I did and how I've progressed as a coach myself. And that's going to help you educate yourself on how to coach, actually how to be a coach. Being a player or just watching the game isn't enough. You actually have to teach these young kids or adults and help them in their football journey. So we'll start off with the first one, which was where do you start? Very simple. Go look for coaching courses relevant to the age group you're playing. You won't go do a senior certificate if you're doing under 6s. That's an absolute waste of time to do a certificate that's based on coaching adults when you're coaching little 6-year-old kids. When you do these courses though, make sure that you're actively involved, alright? You get out of your comfort zone. Probably the other big things that I've written down here is it's okay to make mistakes because your players will too, and you're just learning. You're learning as you go, and you learn most of it by just doing. As coaches courses I've been on where I've just had to be involved in a session or run a session to having to be videoed and being on a microphone and being fully assessed by the leading organisations over here. So that's the first thing I would say is go find a course that you can do that's relevant to your age group. Next thing is network when you're on the course. So find other coaches who are near you or maybe a higher level. Go and keep in contact with the person who started the course, who did the course. That way you can always bounce off from I know a couple over my time, and I'd like to talk to them as much as possible about new things, different ideas, something I've come up with, and what they think of it. Also have a look inside your club as well for people to bounce off, because that's where you're going to do most of your coaching is at the club. So if you've got a technical director or somebody who oversees something, or even if it's just somebody who's been there for a couple of years, and you just stick your hand up and just say, look, I need a bit of help. I'm not quite sure how I'm doing. Can you just watch my session and then give me some tips at the end? That's all that you need at that level. Make sure you're exchanging ideas and suggestions and be open to being criticised, because it's a game of opinions, and there's no one method that's going to work for you and somebody else, and everybody has their own way of being a coach, a different style altogether. So the next one is to just find coaching clinics or seminars and again be actively involved. There are some places out there that will do little coaching clinics. You can go there, someone will put a session on for an hour and you can go watch them and see and just pick up little bits of information that you can go and take into your own sessions. Just make sure again that it is relevant to your age group. That is huge. Okay. The FFA over here, so Football Federation Australia, they've got the couple of different learning types, and I just wanted to explain this as well because of just a few things that I've said. So they suggest that 10% of your learning is through qualifications, so getting a senior license or up to a C, B, A, that kind of thing. There's only 10% of your entire learning process. And then they go to 20% of non-formal, so that's your going to a clinic or a seminar or something like that. and then that just leaves you with the 70% of you actually doing it, and that's huge. Is actually doing it. The big thing that you can do yourself is be critical on yourself, but not overcritical. Have a reflect and think about your session. Was that good? Is the information I gave to those kids good enough? Were they doing what I was asking them to do? If they weren't, maybe why? Was my delivery not quite right? Or, maybe I need to push that session a different way to get the result that I want. I still run sessions these days where I have an idea in mind and it doesn't even work, or I don't get the final product, and I reflect on it and go, right, that didn't work for this team, and that's not saying that training session wouldn't work for another team. It depends on the type of players you've got, and it also depends on the age of the players that you have as well. You couldn't just do simple passing drills with us under sixes and expect them to do that for 10 or 15 minutes, whereas you do that with senior players and they would have the mental capacity to do that. So next one is your age groups, and I'm just going to talk about a couple of brackets. I've listed 5 different brackets. I know there's a lot of information to take in, but you can always rewatch this video or pause it, or you can ask questions and comment below, and I'll try and do my best to respond when I can. So the first age group that I've got is 0 to 5-year-olds. So we're talking about, we're not really zero, kids who can't even walk yet, but I just thought 0 to 5 is just a bracket. It's all about having fun. That's it. You just want these kids to fall in love with playing and having a ball at their feet all the time as much as possible. I've coached for a company who we literally aimed everything at 2 to 5-year-olds, and we went into childcare centres and after school programs and stuff like that, and it was probably the funnest coaching role I've ever done. When you coach this age group, you've got to laugh, you've got to be fun, act like a kid, because they're only kids as well. They want to laugh at the coach. Don't be afraid to be a bit stupid, a bit silly, fall over every now and then or trip yourself up, or you'll just improvise every now and then, see what the kids will laugh at, and make sure that the kids are smiling and laughing and having fun. That's just big. That's just the huge thing at this level. Don't bring anything adult into it. You just literally ball at their feet, go put in the back of the net, and maybe have a few cones and go maybe you could run to the white one, then the blue one, and then score, and you can make them go to the left, to the right, and then put in the back of the net. Nothing crazy. You don't have to reinvent the wheel here. You never will. And the kids won't respond. The more control that you have in your session, you actually have to literally have a very minimal structure to it and almost zero control. You just give the kids something to do and just go for it, and just be a kid yourself. That's pretty much it. To the next age bracket, it's a little bit of a small one. It's the 6 to 8-year-olds. So this is the kids that are just they're starting to do games. So the big thing here is the same as above. Keep it fun, keep it challenging at this level now. So what you want to do is you want to have a bit of a basic structure to your sessions, nothing too crazy, but you want to start developing their core skills. When I say core skills, there are 4 that we work on in Australia. That is striking the ball, their first touch, the 1v1s, and running with the ball. And everything can be done within those 4 core skills. So what you would look at here is you try and incorporate maybe 1 or 2 of those in a session, and that's about it. If I'm going to do my first touch of 1v1s, it could be as simple as I just want you to do a kick to your teammate, and then they're going to run at you 1v1 and try and get around you and score. Really simple, nothing crazy about it. If you want to work on running with the ball, you could just have you can play Rob the Nest, where you've got 4 stations in each corner, and you have groups of 2, or you can even just have, if you've only get 4 kids, you can have 1 kid in each square, and they've just got to go run with the ball, run to get a ball, and run the ball back into their square. and just time it, make it challenging. Kids are competitive at this age too, so they want to be winners. And yeah, if you just make it a little bit fun, a little bit exciting. And if some kid's struggling, you just help them out a little bit in this session, and the kids will take you cheating, but it's all about them having fun. Every single kid needs to have fun and be involved. So the next age group, this is where it starts to get a little bit more structured. So this is the 9 to 12s, and in this bracket, they're learning how to train. So these are kids that have a good mental capacity. They can concentrate for bigger periods of time than these up to 8-year-old kids. So we're still structuring it on the focus of being those 4 core skills, but you want to start structuring your sessions around those skills in game-related, basically game-related games in a way. So we could work on something. If it's my first touch, it could be my first touch has to go forward, and then you could have a little subtopic like okay, if I can't take my first touch forward, can I then pass it to someone who then can take their first touch forward? That's pretty much the crux of it. And between those 9 and 12 years old, I think a big thing is not to get too focused on the 4 core skills, because what I see is a lot of individual players who don't know how to play as a team, and that goes all the way through to under 12s, because we're focusing on the individual of these 4 core skills, and some coaches do shy away from the actual teamwork of why you're doing these core skills. I'm doing a 1v1 to beat that player, to then get in front of them and go towards goal, because we can have more numbers going forward. But trying to tell a kid that at 9 to 12, that concept's sort of a bit beyond them. You've got to sort of throw that into the sessions. So the big thing that I would work on is just the body positioning, how they actually shape their body to receive. And a key thing is, can you see both goals when you get the ball? Or when you're about to receive the ball, can you see both goals? If the answer is no, why not? What can you do? So engage your players. What can you do to then see both goals? The other emphasis is that teamwork, okay, and really help these kids understand how to play as a team, because you don't win as individuals, you win as a team. Individual sports, that's like tennis, go play that. This is a team sport, and we need to win as a team. We need to act as a team, and we need to play together as a team. And a big thing that I push in this age group is you don't let your friend down. You don't let your teammate down next to you. Okay, you're going to work hard so your teammate, all right, can benefit from that. And then you also, what it does is it brings structure to their game and makes them responsible for their own game, because they can then relate it, go, I didn't make that tackle, or I ran forward too much, or I dribbled with the ball too much and I lost it, and now my teammates are going to have to all run back, or I didn't run back because I'm just feeling a bit tired, a bit lazy today. So my team now, we conceded a goal because I didn't run back and didn't help. Something like that. So we'll move on to the next one. I'm waffling on a bit now. So the next one I think is the 13 to 16 age bracket. And this is their training to learn. So the difference is with the 9 to 12s is they're learning how to train and how to, and then as the 13 to 16 year olds, they're training to then learn. So they come to training to learn about the game, learn about that kind of stuff, what they need to do. The big thing here in that 13 to 16, it all varies around the world anyway, but in Australia here at 13, we hit 11-a-side fields at 13. It used to be 12. There's other competitions around that do it a little bit earlier. I think that's a bit of a detriment to the kids because they've got too much space and they can have a really poor touch and get away with it. Whereas the small-sided games, they have to really concentrate on their techniques. But I won't go too much further into that. So the 13 to 16-year-olds, it's 11-a-side structure. They're learning how to play 11-a-side football in a format that's dictated by the coach. But in saying that, the coach needs to look at the players that they have and then pick a formation based on the players that they have. I'll go through that another time. And then in that bracket you're also just fine tuning those 4 core skills again. Well, and then the last age bracket is basically 17 up, or basically 18, because over here we go from 16s and then 18s. So 16, 17 is still that train to learn, and then 18s is that next bracket where it's literally about performance, and you must perform because we're trying to create. Well, you want these players to be as best as they can be. They should have the fundamentals if they've been taught properly in these younger age brackets. That's why it's really important to know what you're doing at the younger age brackets, because at this 18 plus age group it's highly competitive, and what you want to do is you want those players to be looking to reach as far up as possible. Can I make that first team? Can I make the reserve grade team as well? But that's in higher level structures. You could be coaching an under 18s team that just have a bit of a casual kick around in a park on the weekend. There's nothing wrong with that either, and you just have to scale your sessions up or down based on your level. If you've got 18-year-olds that just want to have a kick around with their mates on the weekend, they're still going to be highly competitive, but you can't run their butts off at training and demand that they're playing at elite levels, because all they want to do is really just give it a crack on a weekend and have fun with their mates, win or lose most of the time. So that's the second part, and it's taken a long time. But I'm going to go into the third part. Okay, so we've gone over where do you start and what age group do you have. So now we're going to go over the ability of the players and what league you're coaching at. So basically the way I do it, I've structured into 3 different areas, which is probably where you will start. So the league and ability levels of your players, I call it a casual level, which is literally 1 training session a week, and then you play 1 on the weekend. So that 1 training session a week, it's casual, make it fun, make it interesting, challenge your players, but you don't want to push them too hard, because as a casual level, if they're getting yelled at and they're not making a lot of mistakes and a coach is berating them for doing it, then they're not going to want to play casual football, or they'll go somewhere else. As simple as that. So don't take it too seriously if you're only doing 1 training session a week, but make it, like I said, still got to be challenging for your players. The second one is 2 training sessions a week. This is where you sort of get into that competitive to semi-casual. So you can have a low division team who'll train 2 nights a week, and they do that because of more of a social aspect, because they want to see each other more and then play on the weekend. That one you can drive a little bit harder because they are coming in 2 times a week. So you could have your first session could be a little bit harder for them, the second session could be a little bit easier. But then you also get into this competitive one where they're in higher leagues and they're training twice a week. So you really want to start pushing these teams as much as you can and getting the maximum out of them. You probably won't be playing in that or starting your coaching role in that high competitive league. You wouldn't, and you'd find it very, very difficult, and you probably wouldn't cope. You might, I'm not saying you won't, but for me, as a beginner coach and other beginner coaches, I've seen that level's like probably beyond them, especially to begin with. And then you go into the high level football, which is 3 training sessions a week or more. Over here we call it a National Premier League, or there's Victorian Premier League. It all depends based on the state that you're in, is depending on what they call it. You definitely won't start here. If you do, you would probably only be starting in a form of an assistant, where you're helping a younger age group as an assistant. So NPL can also be considered, we call it SAP, which is that 9 to 12 sort of year and age group, and they do train 3 times a week. So for those licenses, you need licenses over here to train at that level as well. So the next step I'm just going to talk about the casual stuff, right? It's fun, it's creative. You want your players smiling. Work on your core skills. So this is a basic structure. Have a core skill. Play a little bit of a game. It could be a small-sided game with a little bit of structure. You could be working on possession, or you could be just working on, okay, we want to sort of work on playing out from the back, or it probably at this casual level, just keep it to small-sided games. You wouldn't really do game training, so to speak, and that's probably a word you've probably not heard of yet, especially as a beginner. And then finish with shooting always. All right, so go do your core skills, have a game, and then finish with shooting. Your players are probably going to be pretty bad at it, but they all want to shoot. They all want to have a crack, and they will always have fun laughing at each other at the end. And that's really what you want to leave on. You don't want to leave with players thinking they've had a really crap training session. You want them to just leave having fun, feeling energized, and going, I really enjoyed that. I'm gonna come back. I want to train again. That kind of thing. So you're competitive and semi-casual, so this is 2 nights a week. So you want to be pushing higher intensity levels, making sure your players are working hard as well. Make it competitive. Not to say that casual one isn't competitive, but you can make it even more competitive by adding more restrictions. You could have one team can score. When they score, they have 2 goals, and when the other team scores, they've got 1. And you can change your players as much as you want. You could overload one team with a couple of weaker players. You say, you could have 8 players in that team and 6 in another. But the 8 players, their goal's only 1 point, and the 6 players are worth 2. Something like that. And then you really, again, work on a core skill. Most things are passing patterns, especially with senior stuff. And then you want to do some form of game training with them, especially if you're doing 2 nights a week. So you're working on playing out from the back, midfield combinations, what you're going to do in the final third, some set pieces, things like that. But again, you probably won't start here. And you need to get educated before you can probably start here as well and get a better understanding. Otherwise, your players will know that they won't trust you because you don't really know what you're talking about yet. And then in this competitive age group, it's core skills, game training, and then because they're 3 times a week, you can do so much more with it as well. Something I do is we do nutrition, physios. We're also licensed coaches, and the training equipment, we get a lot more of that as well because we're at a higher level, so to speak. Not saying that other clubs don't have that training equipment, but we'd have access to, at this higher level, you'd have access to more of it. So you could have more mannequins and obviously better fields, that kind of thing, because they'd be kept up to a higher standard as well. Better balls, you're probably not using something you've had for 3, 4, 5 years. You're probably having a set of balls they've used for 2 years, something like that. That's the third part. I'd say it's 20 minutes in now. Didn't really want it to go for this long. But we'll keep going. Only got one section left, which is your knowledge of the game. So this is a hard thing to sort of grasp, and you can follow my videos, subscribe, or whatever you want to do, and I'll talk about this stuff in a lot more detail for you guys, so you can just literally wait for the next video and go, right, I want to learn more about that, and I'll go through it for you. So the number one thing that you need to do is how well do you know the game, so then you can break it down for your players to then understand. Okay, so as a coach, you actually need to know every single role on the field. Okay? As me, I played as a centre back or a right back. I barely ever played as a striker. So coming into a coaching role, I'm like, how do I coach a striker? I've never played there. I've never really done that. But coming from a centre back or a right back, I'm like, okay, I know how to play it, but then I need to sit there and go, right, how do I break that down and then teach somebody how to do that role? So, like I said, there's 4 core skills. first touch, striking the ball, 1v1, running with the ball. That's aimed at those under 12s and lower age groups. That's the key focus in those areas. You want good technical players before they hit 11-a-side. And you also want them to be confident in doing those 4 at any stage in the game. The next bit, okay, is, well, there are 2 components. There's the core skills, and then you've got game moments. Now, there are technically, in Australia, they say there's 4 game moments, but a coach that I had last year, he actually said there were 5 game moments, and that is actually correct as well. So there's 4 moments. The first one is ball possession, so when you have the ball and what you're doing with it. All right. The next moment is when the opposition has the ball. So those are 2 main moments, when you have it and then when the opposition has it. And then you've got the 2 moments in between, and that makes you 4. So you've got ball possession, you've just lost it, and then your opponent's got the ball. So that transition from having it to losing it is a game moment, if that makes sense. Is that lost possession for your opponent to have the ball, and then it works on a cycle coming back. Is your opposition had the ball, and then your team's just won it, and that's another moment of the game which you can use as transition, or you can get overloads, attacking overloads, that kind of thing. So those are those 4 moments. I'll talk about those in a lot more detail in another video. And then the 5th one that is set plays. So set plays can be basically what you do from a goal kick. It can be throw-ins. It can be your free kicks, indirect, direct, and then also your corners. So those are other moments. That's the 5th moment of the game. So I'm nearly done. Last bit here. So, like I said, up to under 12s, focus on those 4 core skills. Okay, first touch, striking the ball, 1v1s, and running with the ball. Work on those 4, and then put it in a game environment when you train. As simple as that. I say simple, but yeah, like when you watch some of my other videos, I'll go into detail about it, and it'll look harder than what it actually is. But keep watching, keep updated, and I'll put those in. But anyway, that's up to 12. Under 13s, I found that I've coached boys and girls in under 13s, and I find that you still have to work on core skills, but you also have to mix in some game training. What I mean by game training is certain things that happen in the game. So like, how are we going to play out from a goal kick? How do I keep possession in midfield? And how are we going to score goals in that final third? And you do that kind of thing at training. But I find with the under 13 age bracket is you still have to do some core skills, and then you do game training. But within a session, you want it to be relative to what you are doing. So if I'm working on, say we could do first touch and striking the ball, we could start with that as a core component, as a warm-up, and then we're going to go into playing out from the back, because a lot of it will be controlling on the first touch and then striking the ball to make a pass, either to left or right back into midfield, that kind of thing. If I'm working in the final third, I might start with the running with the ball and 1v1s, because that's where a lot of creativity is in that final third. You want players to go 1v1, you're up near their goal, it's as far away as possible from your goal as possible. Go have a crack at the 1v1, go run with the ball a little bit more, be a little bit more creative. So I mix those 2 components into training sessions a lot. But I try and make sure that they're relevant to each other. Okay, and then 14 up is you want to work with in your game moments. That's what you want to do. So like I said, playing out from the back, controlling it in midfield, final third, and there's other bits and pieces that you can do that I'll explain in other videos as well. Half an hour of information. I didn't want it to be this long. I've got one A4 page, and I didn't even think it would take half an hour. But the four things. Where do you start? what age group do you have, the abilities of your players and the league you're coaching, and then what's your knowledge of the game and how do you break that down for your players to then be able to coach. I hope this helps somebody. I hope this helps you. If you've got any questions or anything like that, just comment down below. Hit the subscribe button. I'll upload some more videos as I go, and yeah, see you next time.